Well, hello, my friends. Just got back from a lovely walk. I love the countryside parks here in Portugal. They're beautiful. So, there you go, the clickbaity title. So, what the heck is wrong with Bret Weinstein? I always used to call him Stein because it rhymes with Einstein. I think he's pretty smart. Bret, that is. So, anyway, what's wrong with Bret Weinstein? Nothing, really. Eric and Bret, they're fine people. His wife, Heather, Bret's wife, Heather, fine person. Really don't think anything's wrong with them. They have some great ideas. They're interesting, thoughtful people. They mean well. They produce some fairly interesting content for their audience, which is all good. They try to, add to the knowledge base of the world and so on. It's just that, they're running a YouTube business and, you tend to get involved with people because it's controversial, because controversy sells big time. So you bring in some not really fringe people, but some people who just aren't, there with most of the scientists on a topic. And you have answers for the audience. The audience craves answers. That's why they're tuning into their intellectual hero's channel, because he's so smart, and his smarts obviously rubs off on the audience. So, you put a lot of stock in the man's opinion. He's an influencer. He brings on some people. They have an opinion based on basically their interpretation of incomplete data sets. And other people also have, different interpretations of the same issue, but you don't want to talk to them because they're not the controversial narrative. They don't have all the answers. Their opinions are provisional, waiting for new data, waiting for new studies. So they're not as interesting. I mean, health science, medical science, science in general is complex and nuanced, and all the answers that you get in science are provisional answers. So at the moment, for example, we don't have any absolute prophylactic or cure for COVID-19. It just does not exist. We have various treatments for symptoms and treatments for people who are in big trouble, like oxygen and so on. We have vaccines that can mitigate the risk of hospitalization and death, but they're not absolute cures and they're not absolute prophylactics, and there are no drugs that are. So it's a relative risk proposition that you're looking at. So all this all this controversy about medication and vaccines, it's just muddying the waters, making people more confused. The truth is, I think, from going to primary sources, and what I mean by that are scientists, doctors, policy people, and so on, is that the relative risk involved with this particular pandemic can only be managed by doing a bunch of different things. And it's not going to save everyone, and it's going to be uncomfortable. Relative lockdowns and so on, policymakers and leaders will make their decisions. We don't really get much of a choice. I agree, of course, with Bret that, I don't know why that doesn't stay on, but anyway. So I agree with Bret that everybody should have a chance to talk about what they think they know and express their opinions, and people shouldn't be shut down. But it's also easy to confuse us if we say that this is the crime of the century, clickbaity headlines, and go with the controversy because it's more lucrative than the science, which is nuanced and difficult to interpret and doesn't have all the answers. You know what I'm saying? So there's nothing wrong with Bret and Heather per se, or with people who believe that certain treatments are efficacious and should be considered. There are studies being done all the time on treatments for COVID-19 and the flu and other things. Vaccines, in some cases, just don't produce complete immunity because it's already out there. It's endemic. It's everywhere in the world. So no matter what, we're never going to get rid of COVID-19. There's going to be variants of it forever. And we're going to have to learn how to live with it. And it's a little too late to say, I've been following this for a year or two, and I told you way back when that you should have done this. When there's no absolute evidence that if we had done this or that or the other thing, that it would have worked out any better or worse. We just don't know. That's a fact. So I encourage people to not get so wrapped up in your intellectual influencers' opinions. Listen to what they have to say, watch their programs, and then go to virologists, epidemiologists, doctors, professionals who have been doing the work for decades and know a lot more about it than intellectual influencers do. And you can learn from them and then try to figure out how to calculate relative risk, which is what we do all the time as people. We're constantly trying to figure out, is this risky or not? What are my chances here? And so on and so forth. So I'm not going to say what you should do and shouldn't do, but I can definitely give you some good resources at globehackers.com on the Links We Love page, or at Global Hackers Facebook page, where you can read a lot of different articles that we post and learn a lot about various things. Lots of people can give you channels to information from primary sources where you can learn from the experts, the professionals, what to expect. You can also take MOOCs. You can take massive online open courses, Khan Academy, all kinds of different things you can go to and learn how to read a science paper for yourself. Learn a little bit more about statistics and how to interpret them, Bayesian methods for calculating probabilities and risk and so on. Ideas about cognitive biases, logical fallacies, critical thinking. There's so many resources out there. Try to shy away from getting too emotionally involved with an intellectual influencer, okay? They have a business to run. There's nothing wrong with that. But lots of times, going with a controversy is much more lucrative. So people like Ben Shapiro, even if you think like I do that he's not that interesting an individual, they have huge audiences because they cater to a very specific niche audience. They know how to push their audience's buttons, and so they do well. And I'm not upset with Ben Shapiro for doing well, having a stellar business on YouTube or anywhere else, whatever platform. And neither am I upset with Bret and Heather having a good business. If it's controversial, if people are shutting you down, if they're doxing you, if they're kicking you off a platform, well, that's controversy too, and it sells well because their audience is emotionally attached to them and they don't want them to be bothered or shut down, so they get more excited and then everybody starts talking about them, which is what they want because all publicity is good publicity, and then everybody gets confused. If we just took this drug all the time, would we all be fine? Well, the jury's still out on that. We'll find out more soon. Just keep an open mind and go to primary sources. That's all I have to say. Thank you for watching. Please click like and subscribe. Leave a comment in the comments section and tell your friends about this because I'm going to post more often. Who the heck am I? I'm nobody. I'm a retiree in Portugal. Bulianti, out.